you're a manager and an administrator and a leader. These are just different parts of being an executive or being a CTO. It's not either or. It's all part of the game. And I think the leadership is very undefined. So I'll give you my definition, basically, of leadership, which is I'm as a leader say, this is where we're going, and I'm helping you get there. That I think is essentially is leadership. Leadership is leading people somewhere. If you don't lead people somewhere, you're not a leader. And if there is no somewhere, you're also not a leader. So this is the first thing, and I see this often in this definition, and there are many different definitions of leadership, but in this definition of leadership, a lot of my clients are not leaders. So coming back to your question, with a high probability, in my definition, the person is not a leader and perhaps is not perceived as a leader by the CEO or someone.
This is a very interesting angle, because you can probably just ask two questions based on what you just said. Do you have a destination where you're leading people? Yes or no? And are you leading people to that destination? Yes or no? Right? Like, is that fair to say?
And then in which way? Like it often ties into, for me, the where is often the vision of the tech department. So what's the vision? And for me, a vision is something, a golden place, a golden shiny place in the future that is self-evident, that I don't need to explain why it's great, because everyone who hears it think, oh, that's great. For example, like if you have a company offsite, a hiking offsite, then the vision would be barbecue in the evening at the sea or at the lake. So that would be the vision, and everyone would say, oh, that's great. Yeah, let's get there. And the strategy, which ties into the vision, is leading people to the vision, which means there are many ways to the barbecue at the lake or at the sea. And my strategy is, as a leader, I decide what strategy we go. Do we take this route, or that route to reach the vision? So to find out if someone has been a leader in the past, I would ask them, what was your vision for your department last time in the last job or the job before? And what was the strategy to get there? Then going more into detail, I think I could understand if the person is someone who leads this department in a direction or who's more focusing on executing.
Very, very interesting. I'm just writing down these questions because they are so powerful. And often there is this kind of mismatch between leadership and management, isn't it? You know, some people want to be leaders, but they are kind of only managers, even though management is important as well, right? And you also dedicated a part of the book to management. So
it's very important.
Yeah. So what does it really mean today for a CTO to be a good manager?
And you're right I agree with the manager and leader, and people want to be leaders because too many people think being a manager is a bad thing. I don't think being a manager is a bad thing. I think being a manager is a great thing. And that's often with my clients who want to promote people in their department to become a manager, and then they go around and ask people, do you want to become a manager? I think you could become a team lead or someone. And then people say, no, I don't want to be a manager. I want to stay a senior developer or something. And this ties into the fact that people think management is something bad, but I don't think management is something bad. And I tell the people, you should be a good role model as a manager. And if you're a good role model as a manager, people want to aspiring being you. And so then it gets easier for you to promote people into a management role. So that out of way management I think is a good thing. For me, mainly managing is something different from being an administrator, which is like budgets and all of that stuff. For me, management is mainly focused around developing people and growing people, supporting people, and support everyone in your department so they can give their best and you get the best results, essentially. Like look into how they could grow, what career they want to make, what skills they want to learn, how you can support them. So that's the center. There are many more things around management, but for me, that's the people development is essentially helping people, helping your direct reports is essentially the core for me in management.
And are there any more popular or trending management frameworks these days as of 2024 when we are recording this. I just remember, years ago, like 5, 7, 10 years ago, the OKRs were very popular and trending. Like, is there something else trending these days?
No, I think OKRs are still the game. Also, some people get a little bit annoyed by OKRs because they're doing it wrong. It's like often people try to get a hammer and then try to screw in a screw, and it's not working. And yeah, it's not working because you're not using a screwdriver. You should use a screwdriver, or you should use a hammer to put some nails into the wall. So I see some backlash around OKRs because people use them wrongly. But overall, I'd say OKRs is still the thing to go. Perhaps there is a little bit, if there is starting a trend in tech management and engineering management, I think it's going around developer experience. There is a strong focus. I see a strong focus on developer experience becoming a thing.
Mm-hmm. And by this, do you mean kind of pleasing developers to be happier at work, or are you referring to developer productivity, or what else do you have in mind?
The idea is that if developers have a great experience, and it's not, I think the term is not, it's even less well defined than agile. Like agile is a very fuzzy term. I think developer experience is even fuzzier, but it centers around around tooling and setup and all of these things around the job of a developer, focusing on making it easy for a developer to do things, automating some things. And then the idea is if the developer has good experience developing, working, then you get out, then that's what the CEO wants. You get more productivity out of the investment you make in the case of salaries.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So it's about the tools, enabling them during some onboarding, probably, to making it easier and faster.
Yes. But it's there are some different understandings. We're not yet there where everyone knows what developer experience means. It's a little bit like DevOps. So.
Yeah. It's one of those buzzwords that kind of gets people excited, but still it's not really clear what does it really mean.
Yeah. But I'm happy for it because it makes developers happy and it makes their job better and their experience better. So exactly. I'm all for that.
Yeah, it gives people some sense of probably focus, like someone is helping them to be more productive because it's on one of those boards. Awesome. Now, what if someone would like to go from managing a team of, say, 20 engineers and would like to apply for a job in a larger company where they have 50, 70, 80 engineers? What are those hiring managers likely to check when it comes to leadership skills or management skills? Like what is the benchmark or some expectations that those hiring managers in larger institutions will have?
I think it's a tough sell. Like going from 20 to 80 is a tough sell because one of the first questions is how many people have you managed? And then if you said 20 and they expect someone to manage 80, that's a tough sell in any case. So what I would do if I want to go from 20 to 80, before I come back to your question, but what I would do from 20 to 80, I look for companies that really need what I've been good at. So they have a need and not just, I apply for a job and then it's like a kind of a gamble, or it's like a dating app, or like it's dating. No, it's not. That's not how I would do it. Like if you see interviewing like dating, then yeah, it might fit or it might not fit, but that's not the way I would approach it. For example, I became a CTO in one company because they had really big problems with operating their website. And I was working for a large company back then in Germany. And so they thought, well, this guy is working for a large company with millions of users. We have problems with millions of users. So why not hire that person? And so that's how I got one of my jobs, because there was a dire need. So I would look for, like, you might be very good at AI because you have 20 people, but you introduce AI or it's an AI startup. So, and a larger company might struggle with introducing AI. They don't know how to do it. Perhaps the CTO doesn't believe in AIs for whatever reasons. And then it's much easier for you to get into this position because you bring something to the table that they urgently need and want. And then they say, yeah, okay, there is a gap between the 20 and the 80, but this person will help us move to AI or move to the cloud or whatever challenge they have. Like for back then also, I was once hired because I was one of the very first Scrum Masters in Germany, or in early batch, not the very first, but a very early batch of Scrum Masters in Germany. And the company wanted to move from waterfall to agile. So they hired me as a manager to help them there. So I think it's good to look into to find companies that might have a challenge that you have the solution, you did it already, and then you probably can jump over the 20 to 80 gap. So that's what in general, I would approach it. Find someone who needs you. And then what they probably want is, I think that's where CTOs are also not the best, I feel, beside the leadership, is being an executive. I'm a coder. I have been writing code for 40 years. I'm still writing code nearly every day. I love coding, but the larger the company, the more they expect you to think strategic, to have a vision, and being an executive, thinking about the whole company and not only about the tech department. So you should help the company solve problems, and you should not try to only solve tech problems that pop up or that are brought in by product. And that's sometimes CTOs see themselves just as the best coder or the best techie in the company, but that for a larger company, that's not enough.
Well, this is a great advice, especially for those who are transitioning from managing smaller teams where the hard skill was very important, and they transition to larger organizations where there is lots of the business talk, so to speak.
Yes.
So
this is very important.
How can they fill this gap? Like when you work with your coaches, how do you help them to overcome this lack of knowledge?
I think the first step is to acknowledge the gap in knowledge and the veracity and the importance of that knowledge. Some CTOs do not believe that business is important. Like I solve the tech problems. I'm not interested in business. And so the first step would be acknowledging that this is important, and then get into knowing more about business. And you can do this. You can learn everything in your current job. When I was working for a large company and I was working in the development department, being responsible for some part of the website, I could easily have gone to the operations team, sit there, talk to them. Being a trainee on the operation team, they had a very good operation team. Probably my boss would be very happy that I try to learn from other departments, have synergies between departments. So everyone would be happy. I would learn something. And then when moving on, I would have deep knowledge about how to operate big websites, for example. I didn't do that. So in the past, I often missed learning opportunities inside a company. And I think after you decided that there is a gap, I would just, for example, go to the CFO and try to learn stuff from the CFO or from someone in accounting or from someone in business development. Talk more to people. And that's also something I think a lot of CTOs do not do enough. Everyone else in the company is networking. Everyone in the company has business lunch with other people. The head of marketing is having lunch with the head of sales. So everyone is sharing ideas. The CTO is not often. There are people who are very good at networking, but a lot of CTOs I see are not networking on this level and not exchanging, and that way not learning about business. So there is, wherever you are as a CTO, I think there is a huge opportunity for you to learn now by talking to people that are already in your company.
Yeah, well, that's a great advice, and it's actually free, right? To just go
free.
to the other department, talk to people. You
Yes.
even get paid for it, right? Because you are,
Yes.
as a part of the job, just visiting someone else from the
Yes.
company. So this is great advice. And speaking of networking, how do CTOs facilitate this process? Because I've seen people who get excited about networking. I mean, they see how important it gets over time, more and more. So they get excited. They hop on, the train. They start networking for 1 week. Probably they have 2 3 lunches or meetings online, and then the second week kicks in and it just fades out. So how to kind of consistently keep building the network and over time meet new people to exchange ideas with?
So inside the company, I would really start with easy stuff like having a bi-weekly one-on-one with the head of marketing or with the VP of marketing or something like that. Yeah, and exchanging ideas, talking up to the future, aligning. That is a very easy step. The other person probably will agree to do this, and then it's a one-on-one bi-weekly. And it's in your calendar, and it's not stopping. And then you can build up other relationship building from there. And also what's very important, I think, I tell people is trust. If people trust you to deliver, to be able to do the things that you're promising, everything gets a lot easier. And so, but trust is not happening by email. You don't build trust by emailing people, but you build trust by meeting people. So if you have a bi-weekly meeting or a lunch meeting with a VP of marketing, you will be building trust, which makes your relationship much easier. So this is a side effect of networking. It's not learning about business. You will do that too, but a side effect, a very important side effect, is you building trust. Outside of the company. When you're a CTO outside the company, you should just join one of the many CTO communities. I think it's good to exchange ideas, to talk to people, perhaps find a peer group where you can talk things through, or a Telegram channel or whatever, a Signal group. I'm using Signal, but using a Signal group to exchange ideas and build some kind of your own network.
Yeah, that's a good one indeed. So with networking, it's hard, especially now when people work remotely. You mentioned that trust is built when we meet people, but now we don't really meet people often. But I'm sure they can find opportunities also to get out of the home office and meet people.
Yeah, but even then, you should have more. If you're working remotely, everyone is remote working. You should just have more video meetings. I know it's draining, but then you should think about what video meetings do I really need? What should I drop? And I think just having a chat with someone for half an hour, like just have a bi-weekly chat for 30 minutes with the VP of marketing about the company, about upcoming things. I think that's very well spent 30 minutes on a video call. Whereas listening an hour to a status update video call is a waste of time. So I think it's more because we no longer meet at the coffee machine. I think it's important that you make up these meetings, or you have like the team, your development team, or the management board has a coffee in the morning at 9:30, or someone, like everyone having coffee at the table, and they can type, but it's always something already useful if you can see each other. I think you need to build more visual relationships in the time of remote work, because we no longer meet at the coffee machine.
Yeah, awesome. And you kind of said something interesting just a while ago. Now when we all are remoting, and I'm not sure if that's a new word or it was a little blurb, but it's so interesting, really. I need to Google it after we finish. Is whether this is a word? Everyone
Sorry.
is remoting. No,
sorry, you made me laugh. No, I don't know if it's a, but
we'll Google it. It's You probably just coined a new term. Everyone is remote.
Nah, probably. The last time, I think, every time I think I coined something new, I had some new ideas. It's not the way. Like I came up, like one of the big problems, if someone asked me, what is the one thing I should change in my company to make it better or more successful? The one thing. And I tell people, you should do a lot of things, but the one thing is making faster decisions. That's the one thing. If you're very good at making fast decisions, good fast decisions, not bad decisions, but good fast decisions, then that's very important. Because when I look at, you mentioned productivity before, developer productivity, a lot of time is spent before development starts. So there are two parts: development starts, before development, and after development starts. And everyone looks at after development starts, how can we make this faster? But people lose a lot of time before development starts, because there is a decision is not made fast enough. And a CEO comes to me and says, Stephan, why is this live in 4 weeks? This should be live in 2 weeks. And I tell the person, well, the idea was 6 months old. If 6 months ago we made a decision to build this, it would be already live. So the problem is often slow decisions. And I came up with this diagram and idea and stuff like that. I thought, that's a great idea I have here. And I Googled a little bit, didn't find anything on that with this diagram. Then found a book, read it, from Reinertsen, and the same idea was in there. And I think it's from the 1980s. So, you know, whenever I thought, oh, that's a great idea you had, Stephan, sometime later I found out, well, someone had it 20 years ago or 30 years ago. So,
well, that's a pity, but anyway, we will Google this term, remoting, just to double check. Awesome, cool. What are some other aspects the CTO who is about to change a job? So, what are the other aspects that he or she should be careful about?
Never talk about your salary. Like, never talk about the salary. Like, if someone asks you about your salary, never talk about salary. There's one exception to never. As always, there's one exception to never, which is if you're very, very highly paid above market, you can use that as a leverage, as a lever for the same salary in a new company. You know, like if you earn 100% above market, then I would tell the other person in the interviewing process, this is my salary and I expect the same. And then you negotiate and you get 80% above market or something. But otherwise, never talk about salary. It only can be used against you. Always come up with the salary you want. Don't talk about the salary you have. I think that's a very important thing. And then I think in interviewing or getting a new job, for everyone, but also for CTOs, and I think CTOs need to be more aware of this. The biggest lever you have for your new job is between the moment the company has fallen in love with you and you have signed the contract. Like, there is a window, they have fallen in love with you. Perhaps they already canceled all the other candidates, but you have not signed something yet. And in this window of opportunity, you can get a lot of things into it, like right into, you want to have speaking engagements, or you have a consulting business on the side, or you want, I don't know, a company car or whatever you want. But there is a window of opportunity where you can get a lot of things, but that closes the moment you sign the contract. Like, this window of opportunity is closed immediately. And when you sign, you're just an employee as everyone else. You're part of the process for salary raises and for everything. And there's nothing possible. Like, before you sign, getting 20% more money might be possible. After you sign, getting 20% more money is impossible.
Well, this is a great insight, really. Together with the salary. So when would you say is the good time to reveal the salary expectation, if at all? Or do you just suggest to wait for the offer from the company and only then consider?
From a company point of view, I would talk about the salary as early as possible. Because I sometimes see CTOs interview people, and then they talk and interview. And then in the end, they ask about the salary expectations, and then the process breaks down because they can't come up with a number that's good for both. So they spend a lot of time, and then in the end, it fails because of the salary. So from a company point of view, I think you should talk about salary as early as possible. So when as a CTO, sometimes when a fractional CTO in smaller organization, I do some recruiting. I ask about the salary expectations in the first call. So we have a screening call. I ask what would be the range, what from the minimum to makes you very happy. So as a company, get the range very early on. And if your budget is out of this range, don't proceed. It's just a waste of time. As a candidate, you should talk about salary after the company has fallen in love with you. You know, if you look at that's sometimes like that's also the same with job ads, I think a little bit. You know, if you I don't own a car, but if you look at a Mercedes car ad in a print magazine, there are no print magazines anymore. But when you imagine a print magazine, you know, there is this ad, and then it sells you the car. It has a picture, it has some bold slogan, like I don't know, freedom or you know whatever, and then at the bottom there's the price, you know. So the ad just first wants you to fall in love with the car, and then it tells you how expensive this will be. And they don't start with a big price at the beginning and say this car is $150,000 and then they try to sell it. No, they first want to make you fall in love. And then they tell you how expensive it is. And the same is for the candidate, I think. As a candidate, you should look that the company falls in love with you. And after they have fallen in love with you, tell them what you cost.
And would you say that this applies also for individual contributors, let's say backend developers, front-end developers?
It depends. If you have a lot of like it's also some effort. If you have a lot of interviews, it's probably better to talk about salary earlier, so you can also stop the interviewing process if there is no opportunity to sign the contract because your salaries are too far apart. But yes, like the moment people have fallen in love with you and perhaps already canceled all the other appointments, that's a good point to talk about salary. And never talk about your, also for the individual contributor, never talk about your past salaries. So the idea is you come up with a salary range that you like, that you're comfortable with. What's the minimum you want to work for the company? What would make you very, very happy? Then you add $5,000 to the top to get out of your comfort zone. And that's how you come up with a salary, but not on what you basically what you earn now. There is this book, I think, about salary negotiations, and it says the easiest way to get money is to demand 5,000 more than you would otherwise demand. That's very, very, you might be anxious. That's a very tough moment. You're out of your comfort zone. You think, oh, they will reject me, but I don't think they for 5,000. Or if you're not that brave, then perhaps $1,000. Add $1,000 to what you feel comfortable with. That's an easy made $1,000. They will not reject you because you're $1,000 a year more expensive. But you're comfortable with 120. Say the maximum you're comfortable with is 120. Tell them 121.
That's a good
Most
one.
easily made
Easy
$1,000. Yes.
Easy money. Awesome. What are some other aspects the CTO should be careful about? So imagine someone who is now, say, on the job market with 15 years of experience, looking for a new job actively because the company was just acquired or whatever, you know, now is on the job market and doesn't want to feel too desperate, but at the same time wants to probably reach out to some hiring managers or CEOs, just wants to do a bit more than just reach out to open job posts.
I think it's a very good thing you said that you need to do more than watch to reaching out to job posts. That's easier for senior developers or something like that. I encourage them to just ask the CTO on LinkedIn, does it make sense that I apply for a job? Or does it make sense that I send in my CV? Most CTOs will say yes. And then you tell the HR department, as requested by your CTO, here's my CV. you know,
Nice.
and then
Mm,
you have an interview.
that's a good.
So I think you need to go reach out for people to get a good job. And especially to get a job that's your dream job. I think you should, because you asked what should you do, I think it's very important to learn about yourself. What would make you happy? How would my dream job look like? And then I think that people make the mistake of not holding out long enough. Like then there is an offer for a CTO role, which is 20% more money than they currently have, or 15% more money. And it's nice. And they have also, I don't know, they do a little bit of AI, and you think, oh, that's better. That's better than my job. And then they switch. I would not advise to do that. I would say, learn about yourself. What are you enjoying? What are you loving to do? What would you be your dream job? And then try to get that instead of getting a job that's a little bit better than your current one. That will probably not make you happy.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice. And also a very minor one, if you send the same CV out twice, you're doing it wrong.
Do you mean to different companies?
To different companies, yeah.
So
Can't
in
be
other
the
words,
case.
you suggest to tweak the CV every time
Yeah.
for.
Yes. Yes. The CV, you should not lie. Don't do that. But you have probably a lot of experience, done a lot of projects, done a lot of migrations, or I don't know, process changes. There is a lot of things that you have done in your with experience. And there's always something that's more important to the company you apply to than other stuff. And you should filter out the stuff that's not so important for the company and focus on the things that are more important. And the hiring manager should read the CV and think, why hasn't that person, why hasn't that woman or that man applied earlier? You know, why haven't they applied last month? You know, that's what a CV, and that's what the reaction, what you want, and not something, yeah, might be a fit, don't know, might not be a fit. I put it to the side, I decide later. That's not the reaction you want. You know, you want a reaction, someone looking at the CV and say, oh my, why hasn't this come earlier? That's great. The CV is great. So that's the reaction you want. And to get to that reaction, you need to send out a tuned CV that's filtered to the company and to the job every time.
And now when you are talking about the CV, what about the motivation letter? Is it still a thing now? Do still people use it, or is it just something outdated from the past?
I never looked at in those, but I also rarely look into CVs. I scan CVs, but I do not look deeply into it. So my advice for CVs is not for myself. I don't look too deeply in CVs. I would add one because it can't. I don't think it can do harm, and especially if you're like perhaps it's coming back to what you said in the beginning about smaller companies, larger companies wanting to move to a larger company. In general, I'd say larger companies have more strict and more conservative hiring requirements, and so I might not have it for a small startup, but I might have one for a larger company because perhaps also the HR department is more conservative than in a startup.
Yeah. And then in your case, if you don't really look thoroughly through the CV, then what do you do? Do you open LinkedIn profiles, or do you open some other websites, blog posts, or what do you do to gauge the candidate's skills and experience?
I scan the CV if there is a general fit. Like I scan the CV and say, okay, that's a general fit or it's not a fit. Because I need to see some relevant technologies, or it might be the department size. I'm hiring a manager who has managed 20 people. I might look for someone who has managed 20 people. And if you only have 5 people and no other striking things in your CV, I might not be interested. You might get into the not interested pile. And then I look for some red flags. And then but in general, I rather have more talks. Like I rather talk to more people, and I have 15-minute screening calls in the morning. Like I can have 2 or 3 screening calls in the morning, so I can talk to a lot of people. And I'd rather talk to a person than decide on the CV. So I think if you have shorter screening calls, that gives you the opportunity to talk to more people and to just like, I think it's more valuable talking to you for 15 minutes to make up my mind if we should go on with interviewing instead of looking at your CV.
Yeah, and you can ask questions about the team size and everything, which was probably not clear from the CV.
Yeah. And also see if it will work, because if I don't like the person or the person doesn't like me, it would be very difficult to work together in the future. So it's also like I like a lot of people, but I don't like everyone. And then or it's not that, which is not judgment on the other person. It's just that our styles might be very different. Sometimes it's very good to hire persons that have a different style, and that you need to be aware of not hiring copies of yourself, because then you end up with a clone army. So don't do that. So you need to be open to hire people who are different, perhaps very different from yourself. But nevertheless, I think it needs to somehow click.
Awesome. And you gave a great example with the developer who approaches the CTO to ask whether he or she should apply for a job. What about the CTO who is trying to get a job? Should he or she reach out to someone from the management board or CFO, CEO? Like, do you see this happening, or is that a bit awkward and it puts the CTO to some unfavorable position?
I think it depends. If the company is really in need and you have a value proposition, like the company wants to move to AI, you heard through the grapevine, or like the competitors have announced AI products, they haven't, or the competitors announced that they have moved to the cloud and they haven't. So you identify something that you think they need and you have. I think there's nothing wrong with reaching out to the CEO. I think at some level, at some size, companies will not, at some size of a company, they will always go through a placement firm, replacement company. Yeah. So I think I'm not sure where the size is, but I think if the development department is above 100 developers, it gets more and more difficult to get in as a CTO without the help of a placement company. So at some point, I think you need to go to an executive placement firm to get placed, because the placement firm also kind of, not sure that I agree with a few, but that's a few of the companies. They provide some kind of quality and background check and all of so there is value, perceivable value in what executive placement firms do. And so at some size, I don't think you can apply on LinkedIn. But you can do whatever you like. There is no rule. Like sometimes candidates, like I say, I don't know, have a cover with a quote from LinkedIn where someone says how great you are. Like you have a cover, don't have no picture, just the text. Stephan is the best CTO I ever worked with. Oh, and that someone said that. Not that someone said, probably someone said, but not that someone said that. It's just an example. Put that on the cover of the first thing they read. You know, it's social proof. It's a testimonial from someone. Don't start up with your name. Start with a testimonial. Someone else talking good about you. And then people ask me, Stephan, can I do that? And then I say, well, there is no law. There is no law which says the CV needs to look that way. And yes, as I said earlier, larger companies might be more conservative about what they expect from a CV, but essentially there's no law in recruiting. There are laws of what you can do as a recruiting company, but essentially there's no law how your CV should look like. But this is no legal advice. No legal advice. I'm not a lawyer.
That is the disclaimer, but very good idea. I mean, to adjust the cover page and have something different. It's kind of interesting how a lot of the things from sales and marketing now transition also to recruiting and the job search, because these are usually very common among proposals, right? Some business proposals.
Yes. 10 years ago, I did a lot of workshops for HR departments, helped the HR departments with tech recruiting. And I said, you can either pay me for the workshop, or you can go to your marketing department, learn from them. So, you know, they still often chose me, but I think you can learn a lot from how marketing does it with social proof and all the other things. As a company, for your job ads, and as a candidate for your CV.
Awesome. Well, you share so many interesting insights. I guess I could listen to your insights for the next hour or two, but you may also have some other appointments. Is there anything in the book that you would like the audience to know about? You spent lots of time to kind of compile the best practices and insights. So is there anything I haven't asked you and you would like to kind of put on the top of the list?
The overall idea of the book, there's no talk about processes and architecture and microservices, or mostly no. Because the idea of the book is the hard skills get you into a position. You're hired because of your hard skills, but the soft skills and all the other small things as a manager, those are the things that make you successful. So that's the idea of the book.
Awesome. And that's what also the CTOs should keep improving,
Yes.
especially in those larger organizations where they
if you want to be successful or perceived as successful, yes.
be perceived. Like that was an interesting.
The larger the company, the more